Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Give me a minute. I forgot my drink. Live TV. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Wednesday, August the 6th, which makes this the news and events for Tuesday, August the 5th, 2025, day 1259 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. How do you do? I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv, coming to you from this major European capital currently under air alert. Hey, David Keller. Hey, Seawolf. How's everybody doing tonight? Three Angels is here. Hey, Neil Steven. Hey, Refurb Man. How you living? Hey, Truth Hurts. Thanks. How's everybody doing tonight? Hey, Bobby. How you doing, buddy? Hey, Van. Everybody, there's Van. Van joined the Patreon yesterday. I really appreciated Van. And if you have not yet joined the Patreon, you should. Other stuff gets posted over there that will never see the light of day on TikTok. Hey, Alice. Hey, Tyler Smith. Good boy. Well, that's a weird fucking thing to say. That is so weird. I saw NATO taking troops to Poland. Is this true? Well, Poland is a member of NATO, Neil. And so, I mean, there's NATO troops in Poland all the time. Poland is a base of operations for Operation Baltic Sentry. And so, for example, we saw the Australians send an AWAC to help do reconnaissance over the Baltic Sea, looking for Shadow Fleet vessels and those vessels intent on sabotage of undersea infrastructure, like data transmission cables, gas pipelines, etc., as we know the Russians have been up to. So, I mean, there's certainly nothing out of the ordinary about NATO troops in Poland. Hey, Tom Weber. Hey, Rob Walker, how you doing? Hey, Roy Daniels. Hey, Lola K. Hey, Bjorn. Happy Monday, Rob. Hey, Eli. Hey, Mike Kelly. Maddie Wright. Bip. Hey, Josie. Hey, Chef Deb. How is everybody doing tonight? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not entirely certain where to start. I mean, I have my notes and everything over here, but one of the things that's on my mind a lot is how the war is changing. We've seen different phases of this war transpire. We've seen the ebb and flow of support from the international community for Ukraine. We've seen the incredible turnaround of the United States, first supplying weapons, then denying them, now supplying them again, back and forth. Today in Reuters, there is an article that makes the claim that Putin believes he is winning this war. He believes that Trump's sanctions threats are meaningless to him, that Russia can weather these storms. As I have said, right? What have I been saying about Trump's tariff threats? Russia does not give a fuck, and they don't. That was made clear by the sources reported in Reuters today. Putin thinks he's winning. Putin has been told by his generals that the Ukrainian front line will collapse in the next 2 to 3 months, and he will get all of the Donbass, well, all of Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, the 4 territories of Ukraine that Russia has officially annexed. Putin believes he's going to get it, and he doubts that Trump's threats will have any bearing on the matter whatsoever. Witkoff, Trump's envoy to Moscow, is supposed to be visiting there this week. It is unlikely that he is going to change Putin's outlook. It's far more likely that Witkoff's outlook will be changed to match that of Russia's, and he's going to take that message back to our liar-in-chief. At the same time that this is happening, now, here's the thing. Reuters cited 3 sources close to the Kremlin on this, quoted those sources on this. They're Kremlin sources. This may not be at all what the Kremlin is thinking. It may simply be more of the front, the bullshit that the Kremlin wants to put out there and wants to put in the mind of Trump and his people that this is where they're at. They're doubling down. We want it all. We want what we want. Yes, we want good relationships with President Trump, but the objectives of the special military operation come first and foremost. Reporting in Bloomberg might just be more revealing of what the Kremlin really thinks than of what the Kremlin sources are telling us they think. Because according to reporting in Bloomberg, Russia is contemplating, they have under consideration, a ceasefire in the air. No more glide bombs hitting Ukrainian frontline positions, no more missiles unaliving Ukrainian grandmothers in their beds, whole families. No more drone strikes every night on Ukrainian cities. An air ceasefire. Now, isn't it curious that the Kremlin is considering this ceasefire just at the same time that every single night Ukrainian drones are setting Russia on fire, that oil infrastructure is being hit. Some of the largest oil refineries in Russia are now down to 50% production because the cracking tower just got hit. Like in Nizhny Novgorod, the Kostovo refinery that was hit yesterday. It appears that that was the cracking tower, and it appears that the refinery is now down to 50% production. There are 3 other refineries that are currently closed or down on production as well. That has led to the highest, the Russians, America, a country that is nothing but a gas station with nukes, who have traditionally been able to depend on government-controlled pricing of their gasoline, are now paying more for gas than the average American. More for gas. This is stunning the Russian population. They have not seen gas prices like this in their entire lives. And just at a time when Russia is making, or when Ukraine is making real advances against Russian infrastructure, now is the time that Putin wants to stop the aerial attacks. He didn't want to stop them 2 winters ago when he was literally freezing Ukrainian grandmothers alive in their beds by destroying all the thermal heating plants in Ukraine in the middle of winter and turning off the heat. Okay. So, in my opinion, the reporting in Bloomberg about this air ceasefire that the Kremlin has under consideration is more telling of where the Kremlin is at than what their own spokespeople are saying. That's for fucking sure. The other piece of this is the oil export ban. Russia is so concerned that they're not going to have enough refining capacity to meet their own needs as we go into harvest season that they have imposed another ban on the export of refined oil products, which means you're going to be paying more for gas, right? When Russian gas comes off the international market, gasoline comes off the international market, Russian diesel comes off the international market, they will continue to supply gas to a few of the STO members and to existing contracts. But other than that, refined oil products are not coming out of Russia again. Now, there's Arne. Everybody thank Arne. Arne is the sponsor of tonight's live. I don't have any other sponsors for the rest of this week, so if anybody can sponsor a live, that would be great. Arne's been doing a lot of heavy lifting lately. Be great to give him a break. But please give him our thanks. I could not do this without the Patreon folks and the live sponsors. Chris Whitworth says, we always said the tide would turn around September. Well, I mean, it's awfully hard to say, right? But boy, it does look like things are changing. Every night we're seeing these big strikes into Russia. You know, just last night, we saw, what was it? We saw in Rostov, we saw another major rail hub hit. Likely, there was a fuel train in the rail hub at the time. There's numerous fires. Locals reported numerous explosions in the area. And there appears to be too much fire for just the station to be burning or the rail yard to be burning. It looks like they hit another fuel train, which they've been doing, trying to starve the Russian front of fuel. And it looks like that might have been what happened again last night. We also got word today of the destruction of another S-300 system. The S-300 missile, and this is a whole system, right? An entire S-300 missile battery. So the launchers, the command vehicles, the radars, everything. And these systems cost between $100 and $200 million a piece. Now, the problem, of course, is that the Russians had lots of them at the beginning of the war. They probably still have 1,100 plus launchers, and they probably have in the neighborhood of 300 more of these systems, even after all the hits they've taken. So they had lots of them at the beginning. They still have lots of them. But every one lost means air defense for the Russian Federation becomes more thin. Air defense has to be moved from somewhere in the back where it's protecting an electrochemical plant or something. It's got to be brought to the front now because the one that was destroyed was in Zaporizhia. And the Russians are preparing an advance in Zaporizhia. By all reports, they're growing troop concentrations in Zaporizhia, and it looks like they're going to make an attempt at Zaporizhia city, the capital city of the oblast that no Russian soldier has set foot in this entire war. But if Putin wants to take the so-called annexed territories, annexed illegally, he's got to get Zaporizhia city, the capital of that oblast and the surrounding environs. Same with Kherson. Kherson city is outside his reach. There is no way, there is no world in which the Russians are going to be able to across the Dnipro. And so what are the Russians doing? They're destroying Kherson city block by block, systematically targeting the civilians in Kherson for the purposes of training drone operators. They're murdering civilians in Kherson to train drone operators in a human safari, as we have often talked about on this channel. The desperation of this dying regime is being felt on the civilian population of Ukraine that the Russians are taking it out on. We just saw a Ukrainian civilian somewhere in the east just riding his bicycle down the street of the temporarily occupied territories, just shot for no apparent reason by the Russians and left for dead on the road. At the same time, you know what, I'm going to save that for last. Let's come back to that at the end. So on the front line, there's been no real movement in the last 24 hours. Russia is sending small, aggressive infiltration groups against Ukrainian frontline positions, trying to find holes in the drone wall. The Ukrainians have essentially erected a barrier at the front using Ukrainian FPV drones, which has resulted in 80% of Russian casualties now being caused by drones. There are drone operators in Pokrovsk who have an official kill count of over 1,000 Russian soldiers. The Russians just keep sending these small assault groups. Now, they are sending less of them. In July, the average daily rate of Russian offensive attacks was 189 a day. Today, it's down to 155, which bespeaks a manpower shortage on the Russian side. I just want to respond to Jeff Clark's question there. Is Trump's 50 days approaching? And there, Three Angels said it's not 50 days anymore. He dropped it to 10, and it's this Friday. And as I have repeatedly said, Russia does not give a fuck. His threats are meaningless and impotent, which, frankly, I'm sure is by design. Everything that Trump has done has been a gift to the Kremlin. I cannot imagine that this is any different. Hey, Joe, what do you know? So the drone wall. In July, we were seeing 189 offensive actions by the Russians every day. Today, it's dropped to 155. Prisoners of war. Russian surrenders are on the uptick. And it's not just one or two guys these days. In fact, it's whole companies. At least whole units. We had one whole company frag their officers and then surrender. So increasingly, it's not just an outlier one or two. It's groups of men who don't want to be sent to a meaningless death, who don't want to be used just to try to exhaust Ukrainian ammunition, which is what appears to be the entire Russian strategic thinking. Just send men at them until the Ukrainians run out of ammunition. Then it will be easy. The reality is that in interviews with POWs, they're all reporting the same thing. Russian POWs are saying that they were left without food and water, without ammunition for days before they finally decided to just surrender and give it up. 3 hots and a cot are better than dying in a ditch in Donetsk. In Sumy, now we know about the Sumy incursion, right? So Russia, for some reason, where it can't make any progress in Donetsk, decides it's going to open another front. And it's going to open that front right on the Russian border with Sumy. And so they send all these men and machines in, and the Ukrainians are decimating them. In the modern sense of that word, not the classical Latin sense. So in Sumy, the Ukrainians say, the commander of the North Division of the Ukrainian Armed Forces claims that they repelled a large attack and destroyed 8 Russian companies. That's about 800 men. The Ukrainians are claiming 334 KIA and 550 wounded in action. operationally destroyed. 8 companies of Russians. In Volchansk, the situation so favors another front that the Russians opened that back in May of 2024 that never went anywhere and has gotten lots and lots of Russians killed and destroyed a couple of Ukrainian towns too. The situation is so stable in Volchansk that Zelensky went there and visited with the troops, handed out some medals. While he was there, he talked to the frontline soldiers and said that the soldiers are recording foreign mercenaries in that direction from Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, China, Pakistan, and several African nations. And he said, we will respond, which the Pakistanis did not like at all. Pakistan repudiated these claims, saying that they were baseless, and said that Ukraine has neither communicated directly with us regarding this situation nor presented any evidence, and that the Pakistanis intend to reach out through diplomatic channels to resolve this question. The Chinese, now of course, the Pakistani government cannot be held responsible for the actions of a single citizen who signs up as a foreign mercenary, right? The fact is that these people are there, and they're there for the money. That's what they're there for. They're there for the money. Make no mistake. Just like the Chinese, right, that China has denied are there. There was reporting last month, which I missed somehow. I saw it referenced in another article about this. But there was reporting last month in the Russian independent media outlet Important Stories that ID'd 1,500 foreign mercenaries from 43 countries fighting for the Russians. Now, frankly, I'll tell you, I don't have a problem with that, right? I mean, Ukraine's got 600 foreigners coming in to join the Foreign Legion every month. You know, if Russia wants to employ foreign mercenaries, I don't think it's a big deal. What is a big deal is when the North Korean government sells 30,000 of its people to the Russians to go fight their war. That's a big deal. That's an escalation. A handful of soldiers of fortune is just de rigueur for any modern conflict. However, state-sponsored terror is another thing entirely, in my opinion. We saw that. The Dutch foreign minister announced a new package, euro about $580 million for Patriot parts and missiles. This is part of the new EU, NATO, US weapons purchase scheme, where allies of Ukraine may purchase weapons on behalf of Ukraine and send them to Ukraine under US export licenses. Now, I hesitate to ever quote the Hindustani Times, because the Hindustani Times is well known to be an outlet of Russian propaganda. And so I don't want to bring you a story from there without pointing out that we look upon this story with a grain of salt, right? We have a certain cynical attitude toward anything published there. But what are they saying? The Hindustani Times is reporting that Indian components are appearing in Russian-made Shahed drones. They identified 2 companies, Vishay Intertechnology and Aura Semiconductor. Now, in this context, it is important to recognize that any country evading sanctions for the purposes of profit on the murder of Ukrainians should face consequences in the international geopolitical sphere. Absolutely, they should. However, The source on this is questionable. We want to get more information about this and know that it's true before we get too upset with our Indian friends. I would point out that independent reporting from Ukrainian forensic analysis says that 80% of the electronic components in today's Russian manufactured weapons are from China. 80%. So it could be, of course, that these two Indian companies are evading sanctions and will see repercussions inside India. It's also possible that this story was planted by Russian operatives on behalf of the Chinese to take the heat off of China and spread it around a little bit. Now, I don't know that to be true. I don't know that any of this story is true. But it is a story that's running in a known outlet for Russian propaganda. So we want to look at it and we want to say to ourselves, well, what could it mean if it doesn't mean what it really said, what it actually says? Oh my God, this is what it's like trying to disambiguate Russian disinformation, right? Like, consider the source, son, consider the source. I posted a video today. We've talked about it a little bit, but there was this great evidence of it being so real. The Russian SMO marriage scam. These heartless, gold-digging Russian women who pay brokers to marry them officially to single guys going off to the SMO, simply for the SMO benefits, for the money. There is a question now if some of these guys even know that they've been married. That the brokers are people inside of the Russian recruitment services who are marking them down as married and specifying their spouse in return for money. The spouse has never even met the guy that she's purportedly married to. The guy doesn't know he's being put down as married. It's all paperwork on the back end that an employee of the recruitment services is filing. It's a scam. Now, the first one of these scams to actually be prosecuted in court has just been ordered by the Russian government to repay the 14 million rubles. What is that, about $40,000, something like that? $40,000 or so. No, it might be more. Anyway, it doesn't matter. 14 million rubles she owes the Russian government now. So even the Russians are catching on to this scam. And as the National Wealth Fund is depleted and they don't have the money to pay these benefits, they'll be looking to root out these scammers. But I would encourage everybody to take a look at, and I never on the live say, hey, look at my video. But this video is not mine. This is a Russian woman talking about her scam and laughing about it on the internet and telling other women how easy it is. Ugh. Okay, so finally, Estonia is urging NATO to bolster... Oh, no, I have two more things. Estonia is urging NATO to bolster air defense after a Russian drone entered Lithuanian airspace. And not just any Russian drone, 140K. Thank you, Jeremy. Not 40K, 140K. A Russian drone entered Lithuanian airspace armed with explosives. So a Shahed, I don't know if it was a Shahed, but an attack drone entered Lithuanian airspace. The Lithuanian foreign minister, and I apologize for this, for any of my Baltic friends that are here, Kęstutis Budrys called it an alarming sign of the spillover of Russia's aggression in Ukraine onto NATO territory, and called immediately for the bolstering of NATO air defense in the face of Russian drone threats. Further, The SecDef, the Secretary of Defense, Sakhalin, said that they were organizing mobile air defense units to begin patrolling the Lithuanian border in response to these attacks. Now, I did not report on any of this last week when it happened because the information was very thin and it wasn't corroborated by multiple sources. And so I wanted to hold off for a little bit until we got more information. Here's what we know about the attacks on the Kinburn Spit and the Tendrivska Spit. Now, what these are tiny little peninsulae that come out from Kherson. So they're the westernmost part of Kherson Oblast. And they are just skinny little strips of sand, like basically sand dunes and swamp mostly. But what they are great outposts at the farthest reaches of Russia's control, where the Russians put electronic warfare jamming equipment to jam Ukrainian drones that are en route to Crimea, and where radar stations are set up to monitor the air traffic coming, right, to monitor those very drones and provide early targeting solutions for them to the Russians. Well, the Ukrainians boarded rubber boats, crossed the outlet of the Dnipro, and performed 2 raids on these 2 locations in the last week to 10 days. Now, the missions appeared to be to destroy the radar and electronic warfare jamming equipment that we just talked about. And very clearly, in both cases, that equipment was destroyed. We got video on it. And not only was it destroyed, but the Ukrainians raised the Ukrainian flag there. These exposed outposts have come under heavy attack lately from Ukrainian drones, especially any effort to resupply them via boat. Ukrainian USVs, unmanned surface vehicles, lurk in the water there. And if they see a resupply boat coming, they blow it out of the water. And apparently the Russians feel that these losses are justified in order to maintain those remote forward bases. A curious detail emerged from the videos of the raid on Tendrivka Spit. In the video at one point, you can hear someone on the radio. And according to analysts and friends of mine who listen to this recording, the guy says the words, "If you see him, take him alive." Now, that could indicate that there was a person or a thing, it could be code for some thing, some piece of equipment, that the Ukrainians were also encouraged to capture and bring back with them. We don't know. But it was real James Bond shit, to decode that from the video. Now, when we think about the Kinburn Spit and the Tendrivska Peninsula, why they're important is because they provide early warning to Crimea. And so just taking this shit out means that you're going to have more successful raids against Crimea. And it could well be that that's the only thing going on here. However, one of the things that we often talk about on this channel is the siege of Crimea. That I think that what the Ukrainians ultimately are going to end up doing is cutting the land bridge to Crimea and starving the Russians out. With no resupply from the north, with no landing ships that can get into Crimea, the Crimea will become untenable for the Russians. And I think that we could see some that this could be part of some shaping operations, let's say, to push forward to that ultimate goal. But by all accounts, that goal is far in the future yet. Far in the future yet. All right, that's it for me. That's my top line news and events for today. I want to thank Arn, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. Arn's doing a lot of heavy lifting, and I really appreciate it. It would be great if somebody else could sponsor a live, maybe. That would be great. Thank you. Or join the Patreon, please, and help me out to stay here in Ukraine doing this. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be here doing this. It's to be here during this critical inflection point in history is deeply meaningful to me. And I appreciate all of you who make it possible. Especially Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group, and who you should follow too for daily updates on Ukraine. And the moderator team, of course, best moderator team on the Tickety Talk. Maddie, Feisty, Jay, Travis, and Pete. Thanks, guys. Putin's daughter does, as I understand it, does live in Paris, works for an art gallery there. Curiously enough, it's an art gallery that specializes in art from crimes against humanity, genocide art. But my understanding is that she has recently repudiated her father and tried to distance herself from him. We don't get to pick who our parents are. Nightshade makes the point that lately the daily losses of Russian personnel have been dipping below 1,000 or hovering right around 1,000. And that is a sign that offensive action by the Russians is on the decline. They are not pushing as hard as they can. Or more Russians are refusing to fight. It could also be that. Hang on, let me open this door. It's getting a little stuffy in here. It was a glorious day in uptown Kyiv today, but it was like 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Phew. And I just turned the air off because it's too loud to run during the live. Go where? I don't know what that means. The drop in casualties could also be reflective of manpower shortages. It might also be reflective of more surrenders. We said, right, POWs are on and surrenders are on the uptick. If these guys are choosing not to die, if they're choosing to live, that could be a reason why we're seeing fewer casualties. And Flip, I don't want to say that they've run out of APCs, but APC, armored personnel carriers, are certainly in short supply. We are not seeing them on the front the way we used to. And mostly these attacks are being driven on motorcycles, civilian vehicles, and Desert Cross buggies. Is that a training target behind you? Yeah. I guess I never showed you guys this, did I? It's my little, it's my patches collection. And then the target actually, I did some shooting. And I hadn't fired a weapon in like 4 years. But my buddy took me out to the polygon to do some shooting. And with iron sights at 100 meters, right? Do you see this cluster right here? Can you see this? Right? And there's another one actually under here. But Yeah, I didn't embarrass America too badly. My son is a much better shot than me. That kid, boy, he can hit him. Oh, Pete, I'd love some duck right now. No, Ron. Ron, I was just thinking about that today. We were not promised, but we were told by South Korean intelligence that it was likely that Russia had purchased 30,000 more troops, 25 to 30,000 more troops from North Korea, and that they would likely appear in Kursk region the end of July. There's been no notice that any new North Koreans have shown up. None. So we're still waiting on that. It could be that all the hits against railroad infrastructure mean that they're having trouble moving them from the east. I mean, it could just be that simple. It could be a simple logistical problem with the trains. Yeah, Arn, legitimately, that was my second round of three. So my first round of three were down and to the right, and so I adjusted. Second round, nice cluster right around the center of the target. I was happy with that, having not fired a rifle in 4 years. Yes, the orcs are not just like 10 kilometers, 6 miles from Pokrovsk at their nearest point. Infiltration groups are entering the outskirts of the city every day now in the southwest. Those small groups we talked about, those small infiltration groups, what they're doing is they're sending 3 to 5 guys. Three to five guys. These are tiny little groups, not even whole units. Just 3 to 5 guys at a time. Sneak your way over there, hide in a basement. Let us know what basement you're in. 3 guys get in, they hide in a basement. 3 more guys get in, they hide in the same basement or nearby. Until they have 20 or 30 guys, then they come out and they ambush a bunch of Ukrainians like that, right? That's what's happening. It's these small, tiny, house to house, street to street, one-on-one battles. Now, Putin thinks that the Ukrainian front line could collapse in 2 to 3 months. He's wrong about that completely. But is it possible that the Ukrainian front line could collapse someplace in like Pokrovsk? It's not impossible. Here's the good news. The good news is that every analyst I listen to says that Russia doesn't have the reserves to exploit such a breakthrough, and that the Ukrainians have prepared defensive lines that they can fall back to, and they will be able to hold those lines. So, and of course, the other problem, the opposite of that coin, is that the Ukrainians don't have extra reserves to exploit a breakthrough in a collapse of the Russian lines. That's why we say that this is a deadlock. This is very much a deadlock right now. Crispy duck. My son was a great shot with duck, boy. We used to eat a lot of duck. Any word of what might have happened to the Russian subs during the tsunami? So here's the thing about that. It's a great question, Hetty. We just don't know. And anybody who says that they know, unless they've got new evidence, they don't know either. The analysts that I listen to, the consensus seems to be that while there is some damage to the base, that damage is neither significant nor likely to interfere with base operations. That seems to be the consensus of the people that I tend to listen to. But oh my God, when I look at the pro-Ukrainian creator landscape, there are a lot of guys out there. Russia's nuclear triad is now a monad. It's bullshit. We don't know. We have no idea. It would be great to find out that some of those subs have been disabled. It would be great to find out that the missile loader is in disrepair, and now Russia can no longer refresh or replace the nuclear missiles in one leg of its nuclear triad, right? The delivery systems, the subs. It would be great to find those things out, but we don't know any of that to be true. And I'm very skeptical of anybody who's making a big deal out of it, because we just don't know that it's a big deal. Thanks, Seawolf. Dude, you can't imagine how I appreciate it. I mean, without the support from you guys, I would not be able to be here. I mean, it's bad enough that my mother disapproves so much. But, yeah, I appreciate it. And I'll tell you, it is really something to have a purpose-driven life. Like, to feel like the thing that you support is the most important thing in the world. And to make some sacrifices for it. Which I hope I don't complain about too much. The pizza in Ukraine is not that bad. No, of course Russia's not going to admit any damage to the subs, Nightshade, right? But you know as well as I do, there's somebody that works on that base that's sympathetic to Ukraine and can get some pictures out. Come on. You know there is. Night, Birdie. You know there is. There's nowhere in Russia that there aren't people sympathetic to Ukraine. That's why there's so much partisan activity. The famous Ukrainian fast food is Puzata Hada. As a tourist, you must go to Puzata Hada. And Puzata Hada is very much like McDonald's for Ukrainians. It's something that their parents could afford when they were kids. But I got to tell you, it's terrible. I do not recommend eating there. I mean, yes, you have to go there once. Just like when you're in the United States, you have to go to a McDonald's once. But no, it's really dreadful. It's just awful. All is fine means the fucker sunk. It could be right, Nightshade. Could well be. Pierogies in Ukraine are called vareniki. And they're very similar to Polish pierogi. Or any number of Georgian or Turkish kind of, pot stickers, pierogies, dumplings, whatever you want to call them. Very, very similar. There is a really good one, Maddie, right? There's a vareniki filled with cherries that they serve with sour cream as like a dessert vareniki of pierogi. Oh, so good. Correct, Pingu. Witkoff is in Moscow this week. Hooters instead of McDonald's. Well, why not? I guess. Didn't they just declare bankruptcy? Aren't they out of business now, Pugga Mahone? I thought I just read that they were in Chapter 13 or Chapter 11. All right, guys. All right. We all miss them. White Castle. Holy cow. That's a blast from the past. Right. Even Trump said that, I have no idea if the sanctions mean anything to Vladimir, but we're going to do it anyway. I don't know if it'll have any effect, but we'll do it. I mean, oh, they're so good, Maddie. They have a whole bunch of dessert vareniki like that here. Sentiment towards Zelensky now. Well, Ron, Here's the thing. There are as many opinions about President Zelensky in Ukraine as there are Ukrainians. Exactly what you would expect in a functional democracy. Not this bullshit we have in the United States where you have to be okay with Trump having his name and documents removed from the Smithsonian exhibition on presidential impeachments. The exhibit now claims that only 3 United States presidents have ever been impeached. I mean, that is a propagandist lie of the worst sort being visited on the American people in the Smithsonian National Museum under Trump. Thanks, Nightshade. The TikTok kids that got arrested got off very lucky. They had to make a public, their parents must be somebody, because they had to make a public apology and pay a 30,000 ruble fine, which is about $375. He's not the next dictator. He is a dictator. He's the dictator in charge, and he wants to make himself dictator in charge for life. Okay, guys, we got about 8 minutes left. Again, let me thank Arn, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. Really appreciate it. If anybody out there who follows this channel and has never sponsored a live, maybe you would like to help get involved and keep this channel on the air. PayPal's in the description. Yeah, I mean, at least it won't be long, but the problem is we don't want him to pass it down to Don Jr., right? That's the thing we don't want to have, is an aristocracy, a ruling class. Night Refurb, man. I'm with you, Bip. Thanks, Home Time. Did you bought the honey? Did I buy the honey? What honey? I mean, I buy honey here all the time, Flip. I don't remember a specific honey. Did we talk about a specific Ukrainian honey? Kim Sung Trump, exactly. He wants big statues, big bronze statues. Oh yeah, no, I had honey. Did I say I needed to buy honey? No, I had honey for the ribs, yeah. But I didn't make them. They're in the freezer. I'm going to make them Saturday. I didn't have time. I had to go with chicken. No, not half the people in America chose him. And yes, the people that chose him are deluded. They are the victims of a liar and a cheap con man. Or even more so, they are the victims of their own hatreds and prejudices. The United States is a country of 340 million people. He got 75 million votes. That's less than 1/4 of the population that supports him. The problem is that too many people that don't support him don't participate in the democracy because they have been made cynical by the Trumpists and the complicity of the Democratic Party in the subversion of the U.S. federal system by a malign foreign agent in the person of Donald Trump. Miller is so dangerous. It is disgusting. Home Time, I thought you were leaving. 75 million is not 28% of 340. So stop it. I need to find the Lord. I need to find Jesus. Why? Why? Jesus doesn't play any part in this. The Lord doesn't play any part in this. Did the Lord approve? I hear these people praying to God for the return of the stolen Ukrainian children. Well, if God can return them, he must have allowed them to be stolen. So he must want them. to be suffering the tortures of the damned at the hands of Russian sadists. It must be what your God wants. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let it happen. No, there is no hope in the short term that common sense will prevail. Obviously, if we're invoking divine intervention, common sense has right out the window. Okay. Guys, we have 4 minutes left. In the meantime, let me just thank Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces, and, of course, the best moderator team on the Tickety Talk, Maddie, Feisty, Jay, Pete, and Trav. Hey, Mad Mike. Thanks, Mike Kelly. Thanks, David Keller. Good night. Hey, Franklin. How you doing? Oh, are you guys here? Awesome, man. Dude, are you going to come to the barbecue on Saturday? You and Lilia should come. Definitely. I'll make us ribs, man. I'll feed you guys. Awesome sauce, brother. I'll WhatsApp you the pin. Night, Pete. Thanks, pal. Night, Space Ghost. Thanks, Grandma. Oh, right on. Although, flip between you and me, pal, and the 200 people that are on the call. I'm not going to do honey-baked ribs on Saturday. I'm going to do maple syrup baked ribs. You ever had maple syrup baked ribs? Ooh, maple syrup and brown sugar, baby. You are in for a treat. Honey's good, don't get me wrong. But maple syrup is a whole nother world. Night, Pugga Mahone. If anybody else is on the live here that's in Kyiv or will be in Kyiv on Saturday, my English-speaking club is doing barbecues on the beach on Saturdays. So come on out for that. Daryl, my ribs, man. I put them up against anybody's ribs, brother. I put them up against anybody's ribs. They're good ribs. Now, I do them in two versions. There's the sweet and the spicy. Well, sweet and spicy, because the spicy is sweet too. Yeah, right? Freedom doesn't last. If you're ever in town, pal, hit me up. Night, Nicola. Night, Josie. I just found out I was over on YouTube, because you guys know I'm on YouTube. Follow me there, please, if you don't already. But Kijo, everybody remembers Kijo from Croatia, right? Poor guy got banned on TikTok, but he's over there on the YouTube now. I will see, Wolf. I'll check it. Thanks, pal. You should. I always respond. There's only been very few people. When you PayPal anything to me, I always send a thank you note in PayPal, like immediately. You should get that like within hours, generally, of sending it. If you don't, there have been a few occasions where people's security settings didn't let me message them in the app. And remember, your PayPal name is very often not your TikTok name. So I have no way of knowing who it's from if you don't let me know. Yeah, William, you hit it on the head there. The Ukrainians do not like spice. The spiciest thing in Ukraine is horseradish, which, can be spicy, but they hardly use it. I mean, it's dollops, No. I use a Carolina Reaper sauce on my ribs for hot ribs. The Ukrainians can't eat them. I have to make them separate for me if I'm having people over. Oh, planning services. Okay. I remember that one. Dude, and the reason I remember it, I'm pretty sure that's the right one. I can't message you in PayPal. Your security restrictions prohibit it, or your security settings prohibit it. And I did not know who planning services was. I think I even said that last time you sponsored a live. Hey, Dan Ballard. Yeah, Flip, they do love chocolate a lot, but come on, man, the chocolate here is not that good. There is good chocolate here, but just any old candy bar off the shelf or any Roshen is terrible. Roshen is just awful. Well, Seawolf, who do you want to be the sponsor, you or planning services? Hey, Jerry-O. There's a chocolate here called Crown. They make a good dark chocolate. Their dark chocolate is mellow and creamy, but not sweet at all. Not like Hershey's dark, right? Where you can feel your teeth decaying from all the sugar when you eat it. Not like that at all. Bip, the food in Ukraine is closer to Great Britain than to America. Yes, it is. Take care, Kiwi Annie. Your son, little nutmegger, born in Connecticut. Okay, you got it, pal. Your wish is my command. Thanks, Seawolf. You got it. Little nutmegger. I love nutmeg. Almost every day, I grind nutmeg into my yogurt in the morning. Nutmeg, cinnamon, clove, and ginger. Every morning. Not a fan of milk chocolate. It's too sweet. Oh, let me show you that. Here, wait. Let me on this. Since we're just chatting about food now, right? The live itself and the news is clearly over. Hang on a second. Wait till I show you this. One of the great things about living in Ukraine is that people bring you food from their gardens. And my buddy Yarrow dropped by yesterday with a selection of pears. I put a little blue cheese on these, and oh my gosh, it was just beautiful. It was great. Actually, I think I'm going to do that right after we get done. I'm going to eat that pear with a little blue cheese. Then the other thing is, right, people bring you food. Not just food from their gardens, but sometimes you get lucky and they know what they're doing. You trust them enough not to poison you. And maybe you get lucky and they bring you something from the woods. Look at this. Look at this beauty. These are meaty like a, oh, why can't I think of them? The ones that if you don't cook them, they'll kill you. Portobellos. They're meaty like steak. Look at, he brought me 2 of these. The guy's out in the woods on maneuvers and finds a couple of these mushrooms and brought them back. Oh, nightshade. See, that is my jam right there. Pork, pear, and mushroom pie with a Stilton sauce. Wow, that sounds great. Oh, Seawolf, I'm sorry to hear that. That is tough. Yeah, ads, we're talking about food. The live's over. It's after 1. Or it's after 6 Eastern time. And yeah, my buddy just dropped off these mushrooms today. It was a great surprise this morning. Mushrooms, the devil's food? What? That's ridiculous. Mushrooms, you know, the human race evolved eating a lot of mushrooms. And we do not, as a percentage of our diets, we don't get enough of that good stuff anymore. And they're extraordinarily beneficial for us. Especially, I wish I could get lion's mane mushrooms here. Somebody's got to have them. But there are lots of mushrooms out there that are good for us. And something like this is hen of the woods. Not now, Mike Kelly, you might be in Missouri, but on my property in Pennsylvania, we had both hen of the woods and chicken of the woods. Chicken of the woods being that bright orange version or variety of oyster mushroom or shelf mushroom. We had a sheep's head and no chanterelles or morels on my property. But next door to us was an abandoned apple orchard, and sometimes you could find them there. Mushrooms are God's food, definitely. Definitely, ads. You're not wrong about that. Maddie, lion's mane are not just fantastic, like in flavor and texture and the versatility with which they can be cooked, but they contain a compound that is extraordinarily beneficial to a nerve health in the human body and neuronal health. And so eating lion's mane on a regular basis is extraordinarily good for the human body, as I understand it. And I would encourage anybody to do a little reading on that. Some mushrooms can help you see God. I have not eaten any of those in this country. It's not really the time for that. Ads, it's my opinion that virtually everything but salad mushrooms should be cooked. Even portobellos, which are so innocuous and common everywhere. If you don't cook them, there's some poison in there. You got to cook them to break that poison down. Hickory chicken mushrooms. Never even heard of that. I have no idea what that is. Deep fry an egg and cornmeal. Oh, dude, that sounds so good and so bad at the same time. Like you take something that's so good for you and then you batter it and deep fry it. God damn, Mike Kelly, you are an American. Common sense in crazy times. If you've suffered any kind of organic damage to your brain or the nervous system, I would encourage you to read extensively on the benefits of lion's mane mushrooms. There's another one too, has the same exact compound, and I forget the compound. RDG, RN, I don't know. And I would encourage you to read about it extensively and consult some people you trust about it. I definitely would. Right, now the problem is if the symptoms from the resulting concussion are because of skeletal, muscular, this will not help. But if it's internal, I think it's likely to. Now, the magic mushroom in... No, Uncle Christopher, it's what it is it's like, you know how in soy, there's a plant-based estrogen equivalent. So chemically, molecularly, what the plant produces is the same as what human beings produce, estrogen. NGH, maybe nerve growth hormone? Maybe it's NGH, nerve growth hormone. There is a complex molecule, a compound inside of lion's mane mushrooms and one other kind of mushroom that I can't remember, that mimics or has the same molecular composition as human nerve growth. Oh, maybe it's HNG, something like that, human nerve growth hormone. Do they sell grow kits on the TikTok shop? Do you know I've never been in the TikTok shop? Is that a terrible thing to say? I have never been in there. Mike Kelly, I think morels are good all the time. However, morels are best in the spring. All right, kids, I'm going to call it a night. It's almost 1:15 here. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, big thanks to Arna for sponsoring tonight's live and last night's live. Thanks to Seawolf for sponsoring tomorrow. And thanks to all the Patreon folks. It's that time of the month again. I'm doing video shout outs. So if you're a Patreon member in the Sea Babies level or higher, watch for your name on an upcoming video sponsorship. Also, big thanks to Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group, Lars, who has the Discord server, Maddie, Feisty, Jay, Travis, and Pete, the moderators. Thank you all so very much. I don't have any money to shop, Maddie. Not only that, getting deliveries in Ukraine is very difficult. Don't anybody ever try to send me anything. It never works out. All right, everybody, take care.